This is one of the most disturbing depictions of grief in the history of art. In 1899, Edvard Munch painted a room nobody wants to be in. At the center of it, a 6-year-old girl staring straight at you, hands pressed against her ears like she's trying to block out a sound that's tearing her apart. This is the dead mother and the child. Look closer at the grieving adults hiding in the shadows behind her, and you'll find the real horror of this painting. It isn't that her mother is lying dead on the bed. It's that out of the 5 adults in this room, not a single one is looking at the child. Here's why. Munch was born in Norway in 1863, and tragedy found his childhood almost immediately. His mother died of tuberculosis when he was just 5 years old. And this is where the painting becomes considerably darker than it first appears. Because 9 years after the scene depicted here, he watched his older sister Sophia die of the exact same disease, in the same house, at the age of 14. And Sophia is actually the one who is depicted here in this painting. So, what Munch painted decades later and from memory was never just his mother's death. It was a child standing at the exact threshold of a tragedy that would come back for her too. Munch was a sickly child himself, raised in a deeply religious household by a father he described as nervous and obsessively religious, to the point of psychoneurosis. Painting became the only language he had for what he couldn't say out loud. From his earliest works, it was completely clear that his art was not going to follow conventional rules. He wanted to capture exactly what he was feeling inside, an experience so intense, so overwhelming, that the only way to represent it was to distort everything around him. And that's exactly what we're looking at. Not a room, a feeling. Now look past the girl at the rest of the room. In the background, lying on white sheets, is the pale, lifeless body of a woman, her face drawn, sunk into a puffy white pillow. Around her, 5 adult figures stand in mourning. But cross-reference their poses with Munch's other work, and you'll see this isn't a generic group of mourners. Historians have matched every one of these figures to Munch's own family. The same poses he used in another painting, Death in the Sick Room. On the far left, near the door, his youngest sister, Inga. She isn't looking at the bed. She's facing straight at us, pale and mask-like, as if she's been paralyzed by what's happening. Near the center, his aunt, Karen, and just behind her, his father, Christian, head bowed in quiet despair. Beside them, turned away, facing a blank wall, unable to even look at his own mother's deathbed, is Munch himself. And beside the bed, folded completely into himself, crushed under the weight of it, his brother Andreas. A pose that reminds me of the painting Melancholy. 5 people, 5 separate griefs. Here's the most disturbing part. Not one of them is looking at the child. Not one is reaching for her, guiding her, comforting her. They're standing in the exact same room. Emotionally, they're in 5 different universes. All except one. She's the only person in this painting wearing red. That color rips her away from everything around her. The muted, sickly tones of the mourners, the terracotta floor, the dark green walls. Munch built this whole room to feel thick and toxic, like the air itself carries the disease that's killing everyone in it. And in the middle of all that, her. hands clamped over her ears, eyes forced wide open. If that pose feels familiar, it should. 6 years earlier, in 1893, Munch painted almost the exact same gesture. Hands pressed against the head, eyes wide, mouth open. You know it as the scream. This wasn't a coincidence. It was Munch's personal visual language for a feeling too big for words, a pressure the body has no other way of releasing. So why is she covering her ears? Is she trying to block out the weeping behind her? Or is she trying to block out something worse? The overwhelming, deafening silence of death itself. An adult who faces death understands its finality. A child who faces the sudden death of her mother experiences something closer to a rupture in reality. Total sensory overload. This girl represents Munch's sister Sophie, who was 6 years old when their mother died. And that fact should stop you cold. Because if she's 6, how is everyone standing behind her fully grown? This is where Munch's brilliance reveals itself. He has collapsed 2 different layers of time onto a single canvas. The girl is the instant, the raw, unprospective second a 6-year-old realizes what's happened. The adults fading into the shadows are the aftermath, the future, the decades, the permanent damage that single moment leaves behind in everyone who survives it. No matter how much time passes, no matter how old they get, Munch is telling us they never really leave that room. Do you read her the same way? Tell me in the comments. See you in the next one.